working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Maricar Velasco delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region. On today's headlines, rights advocates urge the Philippines' top court to halt President Rodrigo Duterte's push to quit the International Criminal Court, which has launched a preliminary probe into his deadly narcotics crackdown. 2 people killed and 36 others injured after an improvised explosive device went off during a town festival in Sultan Kudarat on Tuesday night. A strong 6.2 magnitude earthquake struck eastern Indonesia on Tuesday. However, there was no tsunami warning or immediate reports of damage. Rights advocates urged the Philippines' top court to halt President Rodrigo Duterte's push to quit the International Criminal Court, which has launched a preliminary probe into his deadly narcotics crackdown. In oral arguments before the Supreme Court in Manila, they told the justices the Philippine Senate would have to approve the nation's withdrawal from the tribunal's founding treaty. Duterte in March gave notice he was pulling out of the agreement, saying the ICC's examination of his internationally condemned drug war was, quote, unduly and maliciously created. However, opposition senators and rights advocates have asked the Supreme Court to declare the withdrawal invalid, arguing the Constitution requires 2/3 of the Senate to approve the move. The lawyer for a coalition of campaigners, Romel Bagares, told the court that a treaty already transformed into Philippine law cannot be undone by a one-sided act of the president, adding only the Senate can undo its own act. Judges will next hear from senators who are also plaintiffs in the case, as well as the government's lawyers, but the court does not set itself deadlines to issue rulings, and cases sometimes take years to resolve. Duterte's spokesman Harry Roque said that the new filing is not a complaint, but a communication because it's still to be acted upon by the ICC. Several countries, including the United States, called Tuesday for Myanmar military leaders accused of orchestrating the repression of the country's Rohingya minority to be brought before international justice. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, said the facts of the ethnic cleansing of the Rohingya must be said and must be heard as well. The Security Council must hold those responsible for the violence to account. Haley and other ambassadors stopped short, however, of using the word genocide that was cited in a UN-backed report released the day before accusing Myanmar's top brass of a long list of atrocities in Rakhine State. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres did not weigh in on the issue of bringing the perpetrators before an international court, but said the effective international cooperation will be critical to ensuring that accountability mechanisms are credible, transparent, impartial, independent, and comply with Myanmar's obligations under international law.
It is clear that conditions are not yet met for the safe, voluntary, dignified, and sustainable return of Rohingya refugees to their places of origin or choice. And I ask members of the Security Council to join me in urging the Myanmar authorities to cooperate with the United Nations and to ensure immediate, unimpeded and effective access for its agencies and partners. And we must also continue to press for the release of journalists who have been arrested for reporting on this human tragedy. It is clear.
2 people dead and 36 others injured after an improvised explosive device went off during a town festival in Sultan Kudarat on Tuesday night. The explosion took place at 8:34 p.m. near a gas station in Barangay Calawag 3 as activities were ongoing in commemoration of the town's 61st founding anniversary. Authorities said the IED had been placed inside a motorcycle that had been parked in the area. Among the injured were soldiers from the 33rd Infantry Battalion who had just arrived on board a KM-450 military truck. 2 other IEDs placed in the area were reportedly defused. So far, the military said it suspected the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters behind the attack. A strong 6.2 magnitude earthquake struck eastern Indonesia on Tuesday. However, there was no tsunami warning or immediate reports of damage. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the offshore tremor struck at a shallow depth of 8 kilometers, about 100 kilometers southeast of Kupang of the Indonesian portion of Timor Island. It was followed by a shallow 5.6 magnitude quake nearby. Witnesses described a powerful jolt from the first tremor, which lasted a few seconds, describing the incident as traumatic. However, Indonesia's disaster agency confirms things had quickly returned to normal. According to agency spokesman Sutopo Purwo Nugroho, local disaster mitigation agency officials are still monitoring the impact of the earthquake, adding there were no victims or damage.
Happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced, eagle news. Because we live in interesting times.
Para sa akin, kapag sinabing public service, dapat may puso. Siyempre excited! Excited sa bagong experience, excited makatulong. Dapat kapag public service program, approve!
Federalismo. Ang federalismo ay isang sistema ng gobyerno kung saan ang mga miyembrong nasasakupan ay nakapaloob sa isang kasunduan na pamumunuan ng mga gobernador ang mga estado o probinsya sa isang bansa. Sa sistemang ito ay nabibigyan ng kapangyarihan ng isang estado na maging malaya at makapagdesisyon sa sariling nasasakupan. Dahil dito, ang mga estado ay maaaring magpatupad ng kanilang sariling mga batas.
Welcome back. Transportation Secretary Arthur Tugade on Wednesday said Xiamen Air should also pay for the cost of opportunities lost after one of its airplanes skidded off a Ninoy Aquino International Airport runway, prompting flights cancellations. Xiamen Air has vowed to pay for the cost of aircraft handling and runway recovery. Earlier, Manila International Airport Authority General Manager Ed Monreal said that Xiamen Air may have to pay at least 15 million pesos. On August 16, Xiamen Air flight MF8667 skidded off runway 0624, which had to be closed for 36 hours as clearing operations continued. The Prime Minister also added expanding into the Southeast Asia region will help Canadian-owned businesses access one of the world's fastest-growing markets. CAR on the August 28 to 30 trip will look to promote bilateral trade and investment with Thailand and Singapore, which along with Canada is expected to soon ratify the Trans-Pacific Partnership and press for free trade with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Canada and the EU provisionally entered into a free trade pact last September as NAFTA appeared to falter and the U.S. exited from the Trans-Pacific Partnership. A deal with the ASEAN bloc, which includes Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines, Brunei, Vietnam, Laos, Burma, and Cambodia, would give Canada access to 650 million consumers. The central city of Da Nang plans to build a logistics complex to position itself as an international standard logistics center for Vietnam, ASEAN, and the Asia-Pacific region by 2030. The complex will be located in the northwest part of the city on 312 Ha with total investments of $620 million. The decision was announced at the city's People's Council meeting in July. Da Nang's complex will include a series of logistics centers linked by a system of roads and rail lines. The major modes in the complex will be the newly designed Lian Chiu Deep Seaport, Quan Hon, the newly built Kim Lee Railway Station, an airport and high-tech park with international standards warehouses, an inland clearance depot railway, and entry point to road connections. Vice Chairman of the city's People Committee, Dang Viet Dung, said the city intended to build the Lian Chiu port as a key entry point into logistics chains, providing services for the Central and Central Highlands regions, as well as the import-export exchange among ASEAN partners by the East-West Economic Corridor that links Vietnam, Laos, Thailand, and Myanmar. A single railway line will be built to connect the Kim Lien Cargo Railway Station with the airport cargo logistics and high-tech park. A road system will link the National Highway number 1 with Lian Chiu Port. General Director of Da Nang Port Joint Stock Company Nguyen Hugh Sia said the city has potential to develop into a key logistics center of Vietnam and ASEAN.
Iba't ibang di pangkaraniwang pangyayari ang nagaganap sa ating komunidad sa buong bansa at magiging sa iba't ibang panig ng daigdig.
Mga pangyayaring nagpapakilo sa damdamin, nagsisilbing inspirasyon at nakakaapekto sa mga mamamayan.
Sa mata ng Agila, patuloy kaming maghahatid ng tunay, patas at balanse mga balita na walang ibang motibo kundi serbisyo publiko.
Subaybayan ang mga hatid naming balita sa Eagle News PH Facebook at Twitter pages.
At sa Eagle News Live YouTube channel.
At sa aming website, ang eaglenews.ph.
Mata ng Agila! Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 6 hanggang alas 7:30 ng gabi.
Pero yung El Nino na sinasabi, hindi na ako sa kanya. Ano po bang relevance ng mga dam Yung mga napapanood ako sa Hollywood, yung mga sumasabog na dam.
Gong, maraming salamat. Malaking tulong ito mula sa Ilocos hanggang sa NCR, Marikina, Tucumán.
First time nyo bang gamitin yung mga modular tents niyan?
Responde, Miyerkules, alas 8 hanggang alas 9 ng gabi.
Welcome back. The Small Business Corp, the financing arm of the Department of Trade and Industry, has released some 210,000 pesos worth of loans to micro-entrepreneurs on Boracay Island as of August 24. According to Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez, the loans granted to small-scale businesses were under the Pondo sa Pagbabago at Pag-Asenso or P3 program of the administration, adding helping the people of Boracay Island and local tourism during this period means ensuring their micro-entrepreneurs have access to available funds to support their businesses. The financing assistance is part of the government support to micro-entrepreneurs affected by the 6-month closure of Boracay, which took effect last April 26. According to SB Corp, the first batch of the P3 program beneficiaries in Boracay were granted 30,000 pesos each. President and Chief Executive Officer Maluna Cacanado said the loans can be used by entrepreneurs to expand their businesses while waiting for the reopening of Boracay to tourists on October 26. Earlier, Lopez said the agency seeks to draw some 300 million pesos from the government's rehabilitation fund for Boracay to assist micro, small, and medium enterprises on the island. Jonathan Christie ended Indonesia's long wait for the Asian Games men's badminton gold medal on Tuesday as Bahrain won the first major title in athletics' new gambit, the 4x400 meters mixed relay. Christie sent the home crowd into raptures as he upset Taiwan's 6th-ranked Cho Tien-Chen to become Indonesia's first men's single champion since 2006 before ripping off his shirt in celebration. The 20-year-old surprise win capped a memorable run for Indonesia's men after Anthony Sinisuka Ginting knocked out world champion Kento Momota and Olympic gold medalist Chen Longan Rout the bronze. Kevin Sanjaya Sukamuljo and Marcus Bernaldi Gideon, nicknamed the Minions owing to their stature, rounded off the party as they won an all-Indonesian final against Fahar Alfian and Muhammad Rian Ardianto. In a celebratory atmosphere at the badminton stadium, Sukamuljo and Gideon collapsed to the floor as their opponent's final shot went wide to settle a tense final game. Once dominant China failed to win a single badminton medal for the first time in 38 years, but otherwise it was another productive day for the Olympic heavyweights. And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Maricar Velasco and I am 1 with 25.